let's analyze the single family resident. And I've put in some information already in, so you don't have to see me typing things in. It's a property in Florida. This particular property, the yearly taxes are $4,400. The insurance yearly is about $2,500. It's a 6'4" property, about 2,400 square feet, 1.25 acres, and it was built in 1965. And of course, single family residential. And the evaluation type is a flip or hold. We want to compare whether you want to flip this property or hold it, or you could also do just a flip evaluation or just a hold. So let's go ahead and add this property. The after repair value for this property is about $600,000, and the repairs are about $70,000. Let's go ahead and enter the details. So we need to replace the roof, which is going to cost us about $20,000 to fix it. We have basement issues, and we need to fix the foundation, and we need to aqua guard it. And what do I mean by that? It has, in the foundation in the basement, it has water coming in. So we need to go in, we need to seal everything off. We need to be able to put system that will drain the water as it comes in into the house underneath it and drains it completely out so it doesn't come in. And all this is below the floor, below the basement floor on the cement there. So all that work has to be done to make sure that water will not come into the home anymore. And we have some cosmetics and paint that we need to do. If I can spell it right, there we go. And we have about $15,000 worth of paint and cosmetics. We also have landscaping. And that's going to be about $5,000. So our total rehab cost for this property is going to be about $70,000. And we already have the taxes and insurance. Now we're going to have about $300 cost per month to hold this property while we're rehabbing and listing it, and which goes into turning on your electricity, turning on your water. Perhaps you need to put in an alarm system while the rehab is going on so that you don't have any break-ins and so on. So we have 2 months for the rehab and 1 month for the listing period to sell it. Now, to calculate our maximum purchase price, our best offer, instead of 20% in today's market, a little bit more realistic of 15%, could be less. Our projected soft cost when we sell the property, I'm going to leave it here 7%, which includes the realtor commissions to sell it, any closing costs and so on that we need to be aware of and pay. So our projected sales price is going to be the same as our after repair value. I'm going to put $600,000. You never know, 3 months from now it might be worth more, it might be worth less. You have to be very careful in today's market. So it's suggesting that based on the values that we put in, the projected profit we want to make, the projected soft cost, and so on, that our maximum purchase price at best offer is going to be about $395,000 or so. I'm going to go ahead and put in about $400,000. And we're going to have a purchase closing cost of 2%, which is about $8,000 to purchase this property. And as you can see, it's already calculating all the numbers as you type it in. Cash needed at closing if you'll be purchasing it cash. Your cash needed for your holding costs for those 3 months, which is about $2,600, which will go higher since we're going to have a mortgage. I'm going to put a mortgage here in a second. And a profit, the equity profit that we have at closing, if we get it at this purchase price and after the rehab, it's going to be about $122,000. So we're going to amortize this loan for over 30 years to purchase this property. The terms, this would be if you have a balloon loan, which you're not going to have on a single family resident. You might have it with a hard money lender. So there's a place for you to put that there might be, whatever the years would be. The down payment is going to be 25%. So our loan to cost is 75%. Our loan to value, which would be the after repair value, purchase property, would be about 50% the loan of the loan to value, which is pretty good. And we're going to have a 5% interest rate, and we're going to have to pay 1 point. And as you can see, the cash needed to hold the property for now 3 months went up to $7,400 because we now have a loan. Cash needed, of course, went down to $181,000. And our equity profit is still the same. So let's go ahead and enter the hold information. So if let's say we want to hold this property, the gross income is about $4,800 on this property. Vacancy factor 5%, which is about $2,400 per month. There's no extra homeowner association, other expenses. If there were, you will go under other expenses. You can also add details, operating expenses, or one lump sum here. And what we want to do is want to calculate, if let's say we purchase this property and we want to hold it, we're going to refinance this property and try to see if we can take some cash out. So let's say we're going to refinance once the property is rehab. We're going to refinance it after. Let's say we're going to do a refinance for, the mortgage is going to be for 30-year amortization. Let's keep 25% of the after repair value, which as you can see, it's already on for us, defaulted, but you can take it out if you need to. And the interest rates we'll keep it at 5% and still 1% to a lender to be able to obtain this mortgage. So let's take a look and see what we have. And let me go ahead and switch to the flip tab. So if let's say we want to flip this property, we know that the holding cost, what they are going to be, this is details per month, about $2,400, which is going to include your mortgage cost, your holding cost, your taxes, and your insurance that you're going to be liable for those 3 months. And then buy me more, but this is monthly now. Here you can have all the others, the sales price, the sales soft cost to resell it, what we purchase this for, our purchasing closing cost, and the repairs needed to bring this property up to level to be able to rehab it for a good price. As you can see, if we're able to sell it on the first month, if it would take 3 months, you can see what you can make, $70,000. If you could sell it on the first month, which you really can't here because we need 2 months to rehab it. But if you can see, if you go over, let's say it won't sell in 3 months. After 2 months rehab, it won't sell on the 1 month year listing period. Let's say it takes longer, it takes 6 months. Now your profits are going down to $64,000. What if it's 9 months or 12 months? You can see the profits per month are going to go down. So we need to be able to sell this property, as quickly as we can to make the most profit. And let me continue down on this section. You have your maximum purchase price, which we went through before, but it gives you details on how we arrive at. And this is all subjective on the numbers that you enter. What is going to be our return on investment on a flip? So if we can do 2 months rehab, 1 month listing and sell it, you're looking at $70,000. If not, like we said before, it can be a lot less, depending what the market bears. Our total investment on this property, our money, is going to be about $188,000. Return on investment, almost 37.5%. And the annualized return on investment would be almost 150%. But let's say we want to hold this property instead. So here, we're going to see that the gross income, it gives you all the summaries on this section here. $4,800, if at the gross income, the operating expenses, net operating income, our mortgage cost. And if you look at your whole tab, you can see how everything is arrived at. The gross minus vacancy is your effective gross income, which is $4,560 here. Vacancy always goes before you take out your expenses. Then you take your effective gross income minus your taxes, your insurance, your property management, any other expenses will give you the operating expenses here, right? The total for that. You take the effective gross income minus the operating expenses, gives you the net operating income. This is before you get any mortgages per month. Once you get a mortgage, you're paying about principal and interest about $2,416. So your cash flow per month is about $1,100.13, which is, pretty good, very good. And if you look at here, the first year, you can expect to make a cash flow of $13,000, year 2, $14,000, year 3, $15,000, and year 5, $16,000, and so on. How's it arriving at that it's growing? That was all entering our long-term projection. We have appreciation here. We have the income increase per year of 2%. The expenses increase per year at 2%. And that's how it's arriving at these numbers. So now this is something that I developed particularly for the properties that we actually purchased for ourselves. And we have done, of course, flips and hold. We do mostly hold, but we also do flips. And this is something that I developed that every time we look at a property, we might want to look, on this property, I might want to flip it. Or this property, if I can get the numbers right, I want to hold it. And that's how you can kind of decide. So what it's going to do, it's going to say, if you want to make the same amount or roughly the same amount as a flip and you want to rent it instead, it would take about 5.4 years to make roughly $71,000, which is about almost a year the same amount, if you're able to flip it in 3 months, right? You might not be able to flip it in 3 months. It might be 6 months or more. It depends. But this kind of gives you a barometer how long it might take to hold the property versus flipping. But also remember that by holding it, you have all sorts of appreciation in value, depreciation deductions, taxes, and interest on your mortgages. The tenant is actually paying down your loan amount and all these items, right? So over long term, it is very beneficial for us to hold and rent the property. And what you can do is refinance the property like we did here and take money out, the cash out. So I'm just going to scroll down a little bit here. I'm going to jump to return on investment for a second. Since this is going to be a cash out refinance, as you can see, we're able, if everything goes to plan, we're able to take out almost $140,000 out when we refinance the mortgage, pay off the first purchase mortgage, get a new mortgage based on the after repair value, and after we pay the expenses and all that, we would have almost $140,000 that we take back out to take these funds and purchase another property and hopefully do it again and again and again. And also, the equity left over in the property after the refinance is about $150,000 in this scenario. And if you hover any of the help buttons, you can see that you can look at how each formula is arrived, how each number is arrived at, so that you can have a full accounting on how the numbers are calculated. Let me go back on the return on investment on the hold section here. And the help is also the same here. You can also get this kind of help up here. So the annual cash flow, first year was about $13,000. Our total cash investment that remains in the property because we refinanced and got money out, we left about almost $42,000 back in the property, right? So the return on investment the first year is about 245% plus. And our cash on cash is about almost 32%, which is incredible. Now let's look at additional returns. Our payback period in years, right? So how many years does it take to break even on your total investment, right? And you take your total investment, you divide it by your annual cash flow, and that's how you get your payback period in years. So it would take about just a little bit over 3 years to get our money back that we left into the property. You can see our cash on cash, the cap rate at purchase, cap rate at the after repair value, our return on investment on our first year, return on investment on year 5, 638%, and so on. Your rent to value, which is 1.2 at purchase and after repair value. Your gross rent multiplier, if you want to look at some of those numbers. Your break-even ratio, and then your debt cover ratio, which lenders are going to really take a look at this. Anything that is usually above 1.2 does mean that you have positive cash flow. It means this property is able to pay off the mortgages and so on, expenses, and have money left over so that it works, and you kind of shows on a positive side that you'll be able to keep paying the mortgage, the loan per month. And in this case, we have about 1.46, which is really good. You can look at your debt yield and your net yield. Let's go ahead and scroll up here, and we'll look at some of the reports, but you can kind of see that you can compare, say, yeah, maybe I'll flip it, or maybe in this case, I'm going to rent it. And although it might take 5.4 years to make the same amount as a flipping it in 3 months, remember that we refinanced and we took cash out of almost $140,000. So at this point, it'll be worth to, for me, at least for me personally, I will look more at refinancing it and take the money out on this property and take this 140 and try to find another property and trying to do this again. But on some properties, I might want to flip and take the money now and then find another property and maybe hold it and so on. Let's look at some of these reports. And you can see this is just a summary that you can print out. You can email to people. It creates a PDF for you of what we just went through. Your additional return ratios, your rehab budget, and so on. And if you had detailed expenses, it would also print out your detailed expenses if you're holding a property, when you rent a particular property. You also have a lender funding summary letter. And here, it's a letter that you would give to a hard money loan lender or a private investor. Says, look, I'm looking to purchase this property. It's worth $600,000. I'm looking to purchase at about $400,000, which is about almost 67% of the after repair value. I'm looking for a loan amount of $300,000, which is 50% of the after repair value. The equity after the rehab is going to be $119,000, and I need about $181,000 of my own cash I'm going to bring to the table to close and rehab the property. And it's going to show the lender assumptions that, listen, your interest income during those 3 months, it's going to be at almost $3,800. In points up front when you get the loan, you're going to get $3,000 out of me. So the total income is going to be almost $6,800 for those 3 months. The return on investment and the return on investment annualized, which is what most of these lenders, hard money lenders or private lenders are going to look at it, which is about 9%, which is, fairly pretty good. Some of these hard money lenders might charge you more than the 5%. They might charge you 8%, 10%, 12%. And that number goes up, so you'll have to run the numbers to see if it's worth it to you. And they can look at all the different numbers, the loan to cost, the loan to value, and so on. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, so you can kind of see using property flip on hold to try to decide, hey, is the property worth flipping or is it worth holding? Anyway, thank you for joining.